Welcome back to another episode of the Second Look Hockey Podcast. As always, I'm your host, David Leo, and joined with me today, these two beautiful gentlemen on camera. I've got Cristian and producer Alex Mandarino on cam today, guys. I'm a little fired up right now. I'm not going to lie to you. So we're recording this, full disclosure, Monday. You guys are going to see this episode, hopefully, today. Like, it's going to be, we're recording Monday morning, Monday afternoon, hopefully we're putting something out. Last night, Sunday night, Mother's Day, and boy, oh boy, were all the mothers, all the fathers, all the children around the world treated to an absolute masterpiece of a Leaf game. Like, guys, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I really don't. I was fuming last night, if I'm going to be completely honest. Especially by the end, I was like, yeah, I was fuming. So, Leafs lose. I don't know if we wanted to jump into what we did last week or if we just hop right in.
We'll stick to what we did last night, or what we watched last night.
That's completely fine with me, man. The Leafs,
get the facts out of the way here.
The Leafs lose 2-0 to the Florida Panthers. 2-2 now is the series. The next game will be on Wednesday back in Toronto. The Leafs, they drop both games in Sunrise, where it really looked like they needed one of those two to split the series and then come back home and potentially close the game out, the series out on Wednesday, but they get neither. They don't even get pity points like in Game 3, a hard-fought overtime loss. They didn't even get that. They get nothing. And they deserve nothing, honestly. Especially for the game last night.
How important would that overtime have been now? Like, I think a lot of Leafs fans look at that Game 3 and think, well, they battled hard the Craig Berube way. And it just didn't get done. And okay, Brad Marchand scores the goal, not great, but like, look at how the puck went in. Every goal in Game 3 seemed to fall in off a leg, off of a helmet, like over the shoulder. And that's been the way the playoffs have been. I feel like every series you've seen goals like that. And you're going, okay, well, Game 4 they'll be back. And it just seemed like it was a completely different matchup. It felt like Florida did have their foot on the gas and kind of took over. So it is interesting to retrospectively look at Game 3 and think maybe the Leafs should have taken that one. It would have taken the sting out of Sunday night for sure.
That was like, forget about immediate feeling right after Game 3. I let my mind drift there in the overtime. Like, I was in my head already saying, man, 3-0 versus 2-1. Like, it's a really big difference. And I've let my mind do that before, and it did not end up well the other time. It was when I was 13, 14, watching the Boston Bruins come back against the Leafs. I was in that third period, and I'm like, wow, Leafs are going to go up against the New York Rangers and Henrik Lundqvist in the second round. This is really cool. And it doesn't happen. So I let my mind wander in that Game 3 overtime. And yeah, that is definitely like the coulda, shoulda, woulda game, because I think immediate feeling coming out of that one was, man, we almost stole it. Like, it was one bounce and we almost had it. We didn't deserve to win that game, but we were right there. And then last night, that would have been the steal of all steals. God forbid the Leafs somehow got one before Sam Bennett puts the second marker up. And I mean, Wall was kind of the only positive of the game. Like, he had the performance, he had the counter punch coming out of his Game 3 that at least gave the Leafs a chance in Game 4. But frustration is the only word after last night, and it feels pretty focused. I don't know if you guys have any frustration specific other than where I think mostly fans' heads are at. I don't know. Before we get into, I feel like, what is the main talking point.
I mean, there's really nothing much else to say other than one guy came prepared to play yesterday, and 20 plus other guys really didn't. And it's not even like there was like any pushback until the last 10 seconds of the game when stuff started to get kind of testy, right? Like, There was a couple big hits here and there, but I thought for the most part, everybody just looked sedated. They looked stuck in mud. They looked rudderless. It's game 4 of a highly intense playoff matchup, and nobody has like, I don't know, the will, the dignity to go out there and like do something. Like nobody was doing anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
They
just get right into
tired.
it.
Like I'm not
They look
saying
sun-kissed.
I'm not saying they are tired, but like the look was tired.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe a lot of that has to do with I think coming into last night's game, the Florida Panthers were the league leaders in postseason hits by a mile. And I haven't looked at what the actual hit numbers were last night, but there's no way they didn't widen that gap. I noticed especially there was just coming out of I want to say it was the first or second commercial break in the second period. I just noted I noticed the concerted effort by the Florida Panthers to finish every single check harder than they were before, and they were already like finishing their checks generally, but there was an emphasis on finishing their checks.
God
and
bless.
I think that really.
God bless Cristian, because that guy might have the record
Pucks for breakfast, shoulders for lunch,
and then knees
elbows for dinner.
Yeah, elbows for dinner.
Like,
the guy's getting folded up more than an accordion on the streets of Paris right now. That's like ridiculous, and nobody's there to help him out. That you're willingly watching your like the leader on the ice just get mollywopped. And nobody wants to say anything?
The way to help him out isn't like, okay, every time Tanev gets checked in the corner, you go and rough up the guy who did it. No, it's you just finish your checks as well. Like you go get there, Chris Tanev. You make Gustav Forsling have to really brace for every single breakout pass he makes. So that's it. You kind of have to give him a taste of their own medicine type of deal. And I don't really think we did that last night. And it's something that I think generally we have been good at throughout the playoffs. So I don't know. I'm very, very torn. I'm actually feeling, I think, more calm. Not optimistic is not the word, but I'm pretty level-headed today versus like fast or flashback to like when the Leafs go down or they lose 2 games to the Ottawa Senators in a row. I think our mental at that point, or at least I'll speak for myself, like my mental at that point was a lot more fragile than it is today personally.
Yeah, I think I'd say that like they had this exact game was played in Game 5 of their first series, and a lot of Leaf fans. It was the first time in the playoffs that they'd seen this iteration of the Leafs sort of look listless and just not prepared for a game. And my thought was, you can have this game against the Ottawa Senators. You don't want to, but if you need to have one, you can have one. And as long as they're back Game 6 and they're putting their best foot forward, and Craig Berube behind the bench kind of brings them back into this version of what we've noticed out of Toronto, we're fine. You can't have this kind of game against Florida. And maybe that comes to bite me, and maybe they can, and they win the next 2. Like you said, Cristian, I think when I was watching this game, I processed this loss halfway through the first. I was like, we've seen this before. They're not coming back. Like, and credit to Joe Woll for allowing them to even have the conversation. Like, hey, we need one. They said it on the Sportsnet intermission. Every guy in the panel, even Blake Wheeler, was like, they can win this game. And I'm thinking, like, I love the optimism, and they like from a literal standpoint, they are 1 goal behind. But we've seen this version of the Leafs before, and I know they're different now, but like the game's done, right? So I already processed this loss at least halfway through the first, going, okay, what's the next step? Do I feel concerned? Do I feel nervous? And I think that's a good way to put it. I don't feel like confident, but at the same time, Justin said it. I said it on one of the podcasts we recently had, I think, with the SLS General. Like, it is a tied series now. And this is what we kind of wanted. We wanted more, but we would have taken this as Leafs fans, like, at the beginning of the 100%. Series, I think. Right, Dave? Yeah.
Well, listen, our predictions coming in, I had Panthers in 6. Cristian had Panthers in 7. Right? The both of us got, like, Cristian got flamed on our socials. He was getting flamed by people that were just like, you have to back the Leafs. It's like, no, we don't always have to back them when we don't feel as confident. Like, it doesn't make us better or worse fans for being realistic. Like, if you would have said to me at the beginning of this series that the Leafs were going to head back game 5 with a 2-2 series, considering the context of the last time that the Leafs played the Panthers. Heading into game 5, they were on the brink of elimination and quite literally looked horror awful for 3 of the 4 previous games before that. I would have been like, all right, give it to me. It's a tied up series, best of 3 now. Here we go. But now in the context of 2025 and seeing that they went up 2-0 on home ice, which 2 years ago, if you would have told me that they were a perfect on home ice against the Panthers, which they seemingly could not do, I would have been like, oh my God, it is a Christmas miracle. Maybe something's happening. But now it's like, it's full of like regrets and full of like loss. You know what I mean? Like, it could have been so much better. And I don't want to excuse, like, I can't excuse poor performances like that. I know a lot of people tried excusing that poor performance in game 5. I'm sorry, I have a tough time in defending guys that make generational amounts of wealth. And I know it doesn't come down to that, but it's like, you guys are getting paid to play a professional sport, like a sport for a living. I'm sorry if people don't feel like you should get the benefit of the doubt sometimes, even when you're not at your peak level performance. I know it's unfair. I get it. But that's just something that you have to deal with when you're playing in a market like this. I'm sorry. Maybe it's unfair. Am I being like too unreasonable? Maybe. I'll admit it. Maybe I am. Everybody is like awarded at least like a few off days. Everybody has them. I get it. But it's like, guys, how can 20 people have all their off days sync up together? It's ridiculous. That game reminded me of like a Sheldon Keefe playoff loss. You know what that game really reminded me of? Game 7 against Montreal in 2021.
Yeah, that's a good example.
That's as close to as a listless hockey game as the Leafs have ever played in this era.
You could also throw, I feel like even the
Columbus one,
game 5
the year before,
game 5 against Columbus.
Did they get shut out?
Oh man,
that game too.
You know what? I think I was gonna say I thought so. I feel like I remember a very late Willie goal that made me just be like, oh.
The Montreal one, I know
so
they didn't get shut out until like.
Yeah, no. I think honestly, once again, I'm gonna come in with a little bit of maybe the other side here. I feel like we've actually seen that type of performance a couple times this year in the regular season. And I can't come to you with a specific example, but we'd have games, especially in the first half of the year. Think back to like that early Tampa domination win. And I think right after we had a
Columbus
awful loss to Columbus. I think one to St. Louis as well. Like it's a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde, but on the balance of the entire season, we've seen more of the buy-in than we haven't, right? So, you know what? We haven't seen like total, like I said, referenced before, like counterpunch, right? Because if you wanted the counterpunch, it would have been in game 4. This is now back against the wall in a sense. It's not an elimination game, but you're back to a clean slate. Yeah. And they showed up when it was a clean slate to start this series. This is the second chance to do the same. This is a cliche, but cliches at least have half truths. Haven't lost on home ice yet against the Florida Panthers, like you mentioned, Dave. Only one loss in the playoffs on home ice so far to the Sens in that game, game 5 that you mentioned. So, I still think that there's a world where this is the only world really where I think you win the series. Is it's bringing that consistency over a full 60, because the Florida Panthers, it feels like they can get by with an 85% effort and still beat the Leafs if they're not on their game. But you look at the Leafs' 2 wins, they had to be as close to 100% in terms of their game to get 1-goal wins, right? That's kind of what it felt like in those games. And I think that basically has to be the standard through the series. I know that's easy to say. Play good the entire game, but that's the bar against the Cup champs. Like they didn't take a break in either of these past 2 games.
Well, listen, on that same point, the a big reason why for those two games, like you're talking about 60-minute efforts, but the Leafs, even in their wins, have had, and even in the game 3 loss where they were up by 2 goals multiple times, they had one period that kind of capsized that result, because game 1, I was there, you go up 4-1 and it's the mid second period into the third, and for 20 minutes you allow the Panthers to kind of like just start pouring it on and pouring it on. And now, listen, we can talk about the play of Joseph Wall through the first 3 games besides last night, and maybe it wasn't up to 100% like what we know he's capable of, but it's not like the guys in front of him gave him much to work with for the most part during those stretches. So if you can limit even those 20-minute stretches where it's downtime and the Panthers are just going to pour on the pressure, if you can bend but don't break in those situations as well, I think that's going to go a long way to help winning the series, because they're not going to score 5 on Bob every night. I know it looked possible through the first 3 games of the series, but maybe last night is a little bit unfair because they genuinely got I haven't seen worse pressure on a goaltender in the 9 seasons of this current iteration of Maple Leafs hockey. There's been very few.
It was just like the one attempt by Matthew Nyes in front, and like, cause he not even the breakaway.
That was
the breakaway.
Yeah.
The breakaway, I'm like, you scored a couple breakaway goals. We can forgive you for that. I mean, I was a little upset he missed the net completely. I'm like, you got to at least fire a puck on net. But
I think that's
he's
his
probably
third of the series now too, and he's used 3 different moves, right?
Yeah.
So you got to try something, right? But I think it's like maybe gripping the stick too tight. Like, this is your first, like the Leafs' first chance. There's a lot riding on one goal, and this kid is still like I want to give him grace because you can't flip on a guy like him. He's been arguably one of, if not the top, outside of maybe Nylander, and we can even talk about his performance.
I was going to say, what other players on the team have had breakaway opportunities in this series?
Yes,
those are the only two that.
And Matt.
And if you go,
yeah.
If you go back to last series, the other guy you showing is Marner in game 1, like that. But those guys consistently, it feels like once a game. Maybe if it's not a clean breakaway, it's a partial break at some point, and they both had one last night, right?
Yeah,
you're right. Like there was no chance generation in that third period. I mean, outside of that third period, and it was it was nothing that you ever really felt confident in. It was that nice chance in front where it's a slight hesitation, puts it into Bob's pad. Bob is. They did not pressure Bob. You're right, but he made the saves he had to, and as long as he's mirroring Wall, you're gonna have a tough time winning. You need Wall to be 1 goal better than Bob. Like that is what you're gonna be expecting out of him. I do feel confident that you can get a game or 2 like that after last night. I feel like. Yes, we can talk Nyes and Willie, and those 2 have been the most consistent threats, but it's also like who hasn't been.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people are having like the Matthews conversation here. Where are you guys at? Because how many times can we say like you're bringing it defensively, you're bringing it in the face-off dot, and he is like being great in the details, and we know that's something that has been basically part of his game since he came into the league. I've still noticed like in game 3, it kind of gets lost, but I noticed at least 2 pretty bad giveaways by Austin, one in our zone and one in the neutral zone. The neutral zone one actually led to, if you guys remember, Brad Marchand's like 2-on-1 chance. I think it was in the second period. He had a nice look at Wall there, but on the whole, we're going to give him the pass defensively, maybe even with flying colors. Offensively, and we know he's playing hurt.
Yeah.
You cannot give him a pass. It's a failing grade. Is there a way, though? Like, if we're the teachers and Austin's coming to us and he's saying, how can I get back to a passing grade? Is there anything I can do? Is there an answer? Do you have anything that you can give to Austin and say, if you do this for me and it's doable, then you're good?
Yeah, I know. Just
It's
find a way.
he has
Definitely.
no goals in 9 games against the Panthers
No,
right now.
he doesn't.
in the
He
playoffs.
leads the playoffs in missed shots. But I bring this up in the sense of he is not going to score a curl and drag wrister from the point, top of the circles, in the slot, whatever you want to call it. That is not going to be happening here. Okay, so for whatever reason, the shot does not exist. The velocity is down. The accuracy is down. The thing that made Austin Matthews a 69 goal scorer a year ago is that he can do it in so many different ways. And it's not just pretty ways. It can be dirty ways too. And I think that's what I'm most disappointed in so far is we haven't seen him make that adaptation yet. Right? Like to me on the power play, honestly, and maybe they do it to keep Florida honest, I would take Austin off of either flank. I would put him as the net front guy. I think at this point with the shot, you feel more confident in Nyes, who I know is great around the net. He's awesome, but he's also got a great shot. And JT, we saw at points in the regular season, like he was giving us the vintage JT looks from the half wall sometimes. So that's where I'm at, especially on the power play. Like I think that's a very easy adjustment, and I don't think any of us would be feeling uncomfortable with Austin at the net front, right?
I
No.
would say he has to go to the net front even at 5-on-5. Like,
Yeah, he needs to adapt his game there too.
yeah, like you said, dude, that this is one of the best even strength goal scorers since he came into the league in 2017, and I can guarantee you every single one of those goals have not come off of his patented, curl and drag, his quick release.
No
A lot
one
of-
tees.
Yeah, a lot of them have come in from within 5 feet of the crease. And, dude, honestly, even if he's not the one poking the puck home, but he's just in and around the crease for maybe a Matthew Nyes thing, I would like to see Marner get into those dirty areas a little bit more too. Like, just crowd Bob, make him feel uncomfortable. I feel like they got away from that yesterday because they were making Bob look and feel uncomfortable. I would say in the first 2 games, 100%. That first game where I was in person for the top 6 made Bob look human.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It had people questioning if he was hurt. And maybe he slightly is banged up. He's played a lot of hockey over the past 2.5 years now. But listen, if you make it easy for Bob, hurt or not hurt, the guy is gonna, he's gonna stone you if you don't get, good pressure on him. I don't know.
Mando, where are you at with Matthews before we can touch on Martin too, but where
Sure.
are you at with Austin?
Yeah, I mean, like everybody else, it's hard to watch and think. Like, he just doesn't have the same dominant, touch. He's clearly injured of some capacity. And, yeah, you said it with the defensive side. I would love to see a transition for him. Maybe Craig moves him around, or maybe Mark Savard has an idea of how to juice the power play up a little. My only concern about putting him net front is, will he be if he's already injured in some way, is he going to have the same horse mentality, or is he going to be a little bit more afraid out front? Because Ekblad and those guys are pounding the guys in front of the net. Like Bobby McMahon got boxed out multiple times. Bobby McMahon is not Austin Matthews. He's Bobby McMatthews we've seen in the past. He's the mini Matthews for stretches, right? And Matthews has size as well, clearly. But I mean, it is playoff hockey, and he's been here before. So I can't be you can't be a Mark Savard saying, "Oh, I know you're concerned about it, and maybe just be careful." I'm sure Matthews will be just as interested to try and change his game up. He's noticed he's not a dumb captain. He knows what he's doing, and he knows that he hasn't performed probably up to his standard. So I don't hate that idea. I just wonder if it works given the fact that he's injured. Does he give as much pushback as he normally would? But that could be true of any type of goal scoring that we haven't seen from him. We kind of have to see some switch up. I honestly
think
even
that's
just
a good
think
point.
in the power
just the
play
idea that if it was any team other than Florida, you're right. I probably am I'm probably doubling down on put him at the net front, at the net front. But it is true, you put him at the net front against Florida, and he's taking I think it was in that Montreal series. Remember the Sherratt, or it was either Sherratt or Weber right to the
Cross
back, right?
checks,
And
yeah.
So
Putting the
he
xylophone
would
with
be eating those on the power play. So maybe it is, and you said it's playoffs, you kind of have to put the body on the line.
Lay it on
I'm
the
not
line.
gonna say I was gonna not try to say it.
don't.
but
I have PTSD right now.
So anyways, but yeah, That's a fair point. I
For
actually
that commercial. I love that song.
we can get into that after. I'm actually
We'll save it.
I honestly, yeah, we'll save it. Sorry, Mando. I cut you
No,
off
no.
there. I just wanted to
Not at all.
make the point too.
No, it's a very fair point. Like I do want to suggest like it's a good idea. I just have that one concern, but again, I'm sure they've looked at all of an option from all angles.
Yeah.
And we could bounce all over the place, but just now that we're talking about the power play, I wonder if it is time for a defenseman back on there. I know that was a conversation about the fact that the penalty kill of Florida is so aggressive and they're getting those shorthanded chances. And maybe it's just the one game, but Marner did look like he wasn't having the best time on the quarterback position at the top, and he was getting exposed a lot. And the problem is one game is enough sample size in the postseason, and so I wonder if you need a guy back there to be a better flank and just prepared, because the PK is a lot different from Ottawa. We've seen that through the first three, but more specifically in Game 4, they were really getting to the blue line. So I wonder if that's a change that's necessary, but something in general should be switched up there.
100%, but I just don't know if they have the horses.
They don't
to put
unfortunately.
Dude, I will come on here and I will tell you, I love Morgan Rielly, and every single playoff goal that he scored this year, it like injects something into my veins that really does it for me. I've loved Morgan Rielly since he was drafted in 2012. But dude, you saw the night and day difference. I think it was in Game 1 as well, where Rielly had to come in for I believe it was Matthew Nyes who.
That was apparently, it wasn't even a had to come in. It was a coaching decision about like trying to preserve the lead, like on the power play, being conservative and going with Rielly there.
And it looked like literally night and day different. I don't know. I've seen what this team looks like at its best with the 5 forward guys, and I'm still taking that over a defensively responsible power play, whatever you want to call it, like to preserve a lead. Like if you need a goal, I think you still need those 5 guys on, but I think the like switching up the personnel, or even like when you're 0-3, you're going on to your 4th power play, why not just play the second unit who have 2 power play goals this series? The first unit, do they have 1? They got 1 with JT the last game, right? The other unit has more goals.
That was brought up. I think that was brought up on the broadcast yesterday, mainly because I think the top line was out there for about 45 seconds prior to, I think, when Matthews got tripped. I think it was the second. And the conversation was like, I wonder if they put out their second unit just to kind of get the rest, and they didn't. They did go with the top line, and obviously we saw them not score. So that's not a direct correlation to what could have happened, but it's a conversation. You never know if it would just be best to kind of get those guys buzzing in the offensive zone, and then when they're hemmed in, Florida, maybe then you bring in those top dogs. I mean, I think anything at this point is on the table because they're not scoring, and Florida's PK is just dominating.
The special teams battle was something I was very concerned of coming in. Like, you look how Florida especially shut down that Tampa power play, and we got the laundry list of Tampa injuries, so that's definitely part of it. But going back to the regular season too, I mean, you have not 1 but 2 Selke finalists on the Florida Panthers, and a lot of that has to do with what those guys do on the PK, right? Like Reinhardt's been a leader in shorthanded goals for a couple years now. That is part of their identity, and I really don't know if there's a combination, any type of way that you can line us up that I'm gonna feel comfortable that we can win the special teams battle, which sucks to say. But I really think it's more important for us to get back to the shot generation at 5-on-5, and you're at least trying to not sink on the special teams. And there was some good power plays last night. Like especially I think their first one, they really generated everything but a goal, it felt like, or at least the motion was really good. But I don't see us winning that battle. I really don't.
They only had one shot through those first 2 power plays, and I think that only shot came on that first one that you're alluding to. So they can have the motion, but you also do need the finish. Like this is go time now. Like sorry, what else can you say about it?
We're at everybody's favorite part of playoff series with the Toronto Maple Leafs where we get to bring up all the game 5 to 7 stats.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, it's coming back,
right?
right?
Those will definitely be coming back. Speaking of which, like I guess we can wrap up here with what do we see the rest of the way. I'm going to stick to what I said to start the series, which was they will make us believe, and they did that. They did that. I joked in our chat. It took them 30 seconds for me to believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like by the end of game 2, I think a lot of us were there. I still, like, as much as I say Panthers in 7, like I still see there is a very narrow window to winning the series, but I do think that this is going to end up in a game 7. I honestly think we stay perfect on home ice here. I think that next game, I don't see us losing 3 in a row. If you do lose tomorrow, it feels like it might be
Done.
I don't know. It feels like wrapped up in 6 maybe, because I guess what I'm projecting is, I feel like game 5 win,
Game 6 loss.
game 6 loss, and game 7 you throw it all on the table, and God, who knows.
And listen, man, if they take it to game 7, if you want to talk about, all the stats and numbers coming up, they haven't gone to a game 7. They went only 6 in the first round, right?
Yeah.
And any series that they've won hasn't gone 7, right? Hasn't gone the distance.
Yep.
So I don't know. I really don't. I guess. Yeah. I mean, I'm in agreement with you there, though, Cristian. I can see this team remaining perfect, but I could also see Florida remaining perfect, like at home. You know what I mean? So it evens each other out. So it does get us to that last game. So then what comes first, right? What streak gets broken? The game 7, the game 7 demons, or that home perfect record streak? Like what gets burned first, right? And I'm still as inclined to believe the demons have a hold on this team. If I don't know. It's very funny though. We have seen a cycle where so in the first series, the Leafs won 3 straight, lost in OT, laid an absolute egg the next game. But then they won 3 straight again. So game 6 against Ottawa, 1-2, lost in OT, laid an egg. So listen, if I was a betting man, which I'm not.
I'm just emotionally betting that I can't double down with finances too, man. This is already too much of a
no chance
emotional bet. Once that I want to reference. Sorry, Dave, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna. My last point was that had to be like that. There can't be more rock bottom than that game. That's the only thing that's giving me some form of optimism, because we saw, I think, our first taste of rock bottom against Ottawa, and then the next game, how they responded was like heroic. I have to say, it was nothing short of awesome and fantastic, right? So that's giving me some optimism.
And how many of us expected it there, right? We were then back in a spot where it was like, nobody believes in you. Go make us look stupid. They did.
Yes.
How many people are in? I do think they have more believers at this. Honestly, right now, like it still feels like it's a tied series. Like it's not doomsday, but yeah, like the demons are creeping back in.
But prove us wrong, right?
Yes.
Like that's it.
Yeah, and it goes back to you now. Like it's going to be a nervous Scotiabank Arena.
Yeah.
Until you give us a reason to not be, right? And
for sure.
They've done a good job, at least other than the game 5, of giving us a reason to not be nervous. The stat I wanted to reference was just you guys probably heard this too on the broadcast, the Florida Panthers record when leading after 1 period.
Oh my God,
since the start of 2023. Like when they flashed that stat, that might have been Mando when it's like, okay, I guess I'm processing the loss.
Yep. Yeah, it feels like
it was that moment.
Like 15-0. After a lead in the first period since the start of the 2023 playoffs is absurd.
That's ridiculous.
23-0 after having a lead going into the third is like just as ridiculous, but that first period one is like you don't see that stat in the regular season. Like it's always the reference of having blown a lead in the third period, and teams
Yeah.
are like the best teams are like 35-1 and 2 and something like that. But this is over now, 2.5 playoffs that they've managed to not lose a lead after the first period. That's a damning stat. Like,
I'll tell you one thing.
That's why you'll be nervous in the first period at Scotiabank Arena.
I'll tell you another thing. It's a recipe to win a cup and go to 2 consecutive cup finals, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But here's the stat I wanted to focus on, and I think Luke Fox said this after game 2, or he put this out after game 2. I think the Panthers' record after going down 2-0 in a series is 0-5. So let's hold on to that stat as Leaf fans. Now, that being said,
dear to my heart.
How many times have we seen, a player trying to score his 1,000th point and he played the Toronto Maple Leafs? Or how many times have, stats gone against the Leafs? More often than not. And maybe it's because we're focusing all our time and efforts against it. But obviously that stat to me means nothing. It's great, but it means nothing now that the series is tied, because this is a game of a best of 3. I think if Sheldon Keefe is behind the bench, and it's no disrespect to him, I have less than zero faith. And I don't mean because of his coaching style or because of the person he is, just because the team didn't seem to respond in these moments in the past, in this specific case. But because Craig Berube is behind the bench, he's cool and he's calm, and it seems like he's the guy to steer in the right direction. I almost wish that something worse happened to them last night, like at the end. Like, I wish someone got cross-checked in the back from a Leafs perspective and they're injured, because you can use that as fuel to push the team forward, like he did in St. Louis back against San Jose that took them to the Cup in 2019. And back when Stolarz gets injured, they're bouncing back after game 2 and winning that game. All I saw last night was Matthew Tkachuk is ready to rip somebody's head off on the bench, and that's not a positive.
Yeah.
I will say, though, like the Willie response in the post game, though,
I loved it.
And maybe that is the rallying cry. Like, you're telling me Willie and the rest of the boys aren't absolutely ripping Matthew Tkachuk after, saying, yeah, this is what, like Willie's saying, this is what Matthew Tkachuk told me. And all the boys are saying, "Oh, he said that." Yeah, it is going to be a fun one next game. Like, I think that could be a strand to pull on, right?
It's so telling of Matthew Tkachuk, of who he picks his fights against. Like, for him to go after Will, who is let's say like the least engaged, like not the least engaged.
I feel like
that's a wrong way of putting it.
You're not going to find him in a scrum, though. Like, he's not going to be there by his own volition. But I think that's the point, Dave. That was the point of that.
100%.
Right? It was, Domi hit Barkov, I'm coming for you. That was that's kind of the message there. I guess we can like wrap it up with the Domi stuff in terms of, if he gets suspended a game, like, I don't, like, we're not, this is not even the bunting conversation where it's like, man, what are the Leafs going to do? Like, what's the lineup adjustment, whatever? Like, it's just kind of like, okay, if you're suspended, Domi, like, okay, put in Nicky Robbie. Like, I still feel exactly the same about the team. I don't really care. I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys have a different spin on it, but
I'm more just like, all right, like, I mean, I hate being sour. I try to like level my emotion and stuff and talk proper, especially now that we're like in the sports media industry. I'm like, oh, okay, look at this normally. I would be livid. And I'm not saying because of the action. Like, yeah, he cross-checks the captain at the end of the game. I would be just as upset if the roles were reversed. That the fact that, let's say, Matthews goes into the corner. But I would just be like, Florida's getting away with this stuff all over again, and the Leafs seem to be the only one that leave this series with a suspension after all the stuff we've seen. And it would just bother me. Now, all context aside, I'm like, it's unbelievable if that happens. I think it would seem like maybe a fine, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. You're not looking at anything else.
I'm not losing sleep on whatever the result is here, though. Like,
no. I get it.
I agree, Mando, with what you're saying, just in terms of the optics and whatever. Yeah, I've almost lost.
I can guarantee you, though, if Max gets more supplemental discipline than like, or I would say maybe as even supplemental discipline as, like, say, Aaron. I know Aaron Ekblad missed 2 games. I don't think he gets 2. He probably gets 1, right? If we're going to be honest.
I would say, though, like what Mando's saying in terms of like probably shouldn't get suspended. Like, look at the Nicholas Roy cross-check in OT against the Edmonton Oilers. Like, that was bad. He got a fine. I think the the Peros, I don't know if he's got a formula, because I think at this point we would have cracked it if it was actual logic behind it.
There
But
is a formula.
I think it's a formula that, like, yeah, it's the dart formula, right? It's
no,
like you saying
the formula is if the player is wearing blue and white with a leaf on
Okay.
their chest, you
Yeah.
double the discipline.
So double the fine then, because I think if that's a fine, like, I
true.
think Domi will be
Sure.
a fine, and I also think that Peros is doing, in terms of, we're in round 2 now. Like, I think the bar is a slight bit raised in terms of suspendable actions, which is stupid to say. Like, there's no consistency in this, but that's what I'm seeing here.
I think Pierre LeBrun had a good actually comment on it on X last night. He was like, because it was a I forgot the way he phrased it, but basically it's like a setting the tone for the next series, for the next game type penalty, like sending a message. The league looks differently at that when it's a sending a message play in the last couple minutes of a game, i.e. the team is lost, they're down, they're not coming back. Let's go take out the captain and say we're still here next series. Apparently the league looks at that a certain way. However, I want the thought, Dave, is just we also look at all the goalie interference penalties that we see that the goalie gets sniffed and the goal gets called back because you want goalies to be protected.
Yeah.
One goalie's not protected, and the guy that didn't protect them is still in the series.
But
it's just apples and oranges.
I also call complete BS on that. Like, Pierre, I bet you have Pierre, I bet you have respected sources in the industry. They're feeding you bullshit. Because again, dude, game 1, the Panthers, they're down 10 seconds left, and what does Matthew Tkachuk do?
True.
He tries to slew foot Mitch Marner, and nothing happened. No calls over that. And it's not just like one case against the Leafs. Like, dude, the Panthers have done that type of shenanigans with 10 seconds or less before the final whistle for 3 playoff runs now. And how many suspensions have they got out of it? In that specific, or supplemental discipline, in that particular, they have gotten supplemental discipline. I just brought up Aaron Ekblad before, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that particular instance, when the game is done and you're not protecting what could be star players that are on the ice, like for the Leafs, they put out their big boys with 30 seconds or less to close out a game, and you're not protecting them. Like, those are the faces of your league. I don't know. So I don't believe you, Pierre. Or maybe I do. I believe that somebody told you that, but I don't believe that you even.
You don't believe who told Pierre.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I would like a Craig Berube special in terms of start the game with the 4th line. Let's bring out that line. I would love like a Steven Lorenz fight. I think that would be nice to set the tone of game.
Incredible.
Even Scott Laughton,
right?
fight.
Like, yeah, no, I could see Scott Laughton too. I just think the Lorenz, it's also the Florida aspect as well. Like, that would, I think that would really reverberate with our bench in terms of getting everyone pumped up.
I'd love it.
Yeah,
we'll
see.
But game 5,
I think I'm
Wednesday.
Yeah, game 5.
2 days off. We got to stew with this for a couple days. Boys.
I know.
Yeah,
That's
how
it.
beautiful. Do we want to keep in the East, or do we want to move out West? What do you guys?
You know what? I'm thinking there's a team that had to stew on a ridiculous ending to the game that played tonight, game 4, i.e. the Edmonton Oilers. I know we're going West, but
Let's do it.
I just feel like I was watching the game and I'm like, how does that even happen? I know there's a couple of days where, we've looked at it and people are blaming multiple different individuals and it's hard to kind of lay the blame on one guy. Maybe it's not hard, but tough way to end a game when you're dominating. I don't know what you guys thought about, or if you saw that live, the ending to the Edmonton Oilers Vegas Golden Knights Rielly Smith special there.
I'll start. I didn't see it live, but I did wake up to it was one of those things where I couldn't even process what had happened. Because I was doing something that night and I just couldn't watch the game. So I had to rely on waking up in the morning. Before I go to work, I'll just I'll watch the highlight pack basically. But the first thing I see when I get up is just the overhead angle of Draisaitl with his stick, almost basically in the net, deflecting the puck into his own net with 0.4 seconds. And my first thought wasn't, why is Draisaitl in that position? My first thought was, where was Calvin Pickard? And then I found out it wasn't Calvin Pickard in net, and Stuart Skinner was actually in net. And I was like, well, that makes a lot more sense, because you need bungee cords to tie Stuart Skinner to his own net. I don't know. What, Cristian, what happened in that game, man? Like,
yeah, I mean, Elliot mentioned this right off the hop after the game, and I think that was a lot of people's thoughts during that that game between Edmonton and Vegas. It really mirrored the game 3 of Toronto and Florida, like to a T, to the point where you look at the McDavid tying goal with 3 minutes left, and it's I forget who throws it in front, or well, McDavid throws it in front from the half wall, just goes off of a defender skating in. It's like, oh, where have you seen that? Morgan Rielly. So, yeah, there was a lot of parallels there, and on that play, I mean, yeah, like Skinner goes for a swim, but Karlsson also has to beat out a defender on the forward check. Like, it is, to me, it is you cannot blame a single person. That is a bit of just like taking your guard down a bit, right? And you can't. Like, I think that is you make that mistake once and never again. But in the playoffs, like, it doesn't cost you 2 points. It costs you a game in a series. Like, it is a really, really, really tough lesson to learn for the Edmonton Oilers. It's really disappointing too, because like you got 2 goals out of Corey Perry, who's been amazing this entire playoffs, but that was the Corey Perry game.
Yeah.
And it went to waste. And I honestly don't think that was Stuart Skinner's like only bad goal that he gave up. Like he also gives up one. He's trying to hug the post. It gets lost in his pad. He kind of gets squirmy, and it ends up in his net. So listen, I think we know the Stuart Skinner experience at this point. It's not a great one. And you know what? Like you really do need like the nuclear offense if you're gonna win with him in net consistently. That's kind of the situation. Kudos to the Golden Knights and Rielly Smith. Like that guy, you could just tell would never wanted to leave Vegas in the first place, right? They win the cup. They have to do some salary cap surgery. He makes $5 schmil, gets sent to Pittsburgh for, I believe, a 3rd-round pick. I remember me and you, Dave, like we were slamming the table. Like, why weren't the Leafs interested in this guy? That was Brad's first off season. He goes to Pittsburgh, has a so-so season for a so-so team, gets traded again to the Rangers. Another not great look. And he gets an opportunity to go back to Vegas, and like you could just tell, like I watched the post-game presser, and just the way he spoke as if he's never left. Like he is a Vegas Golden Knight. And man, like as awesome of a goal that was, like you look back, and it was also the Rielly Smith game. The first goal that he scores is a thing of beauty, absolutely exposing Skinner. Like,
it was
5-goal is wide open. That was a really enjoyable game. Is I think how I'll wrap up my thoughts.
I just the only thought I had quickly, the only thought I had quickly about Skinner, because we can move off of him, because like you said, we know the Stuart Skinner experience. 2 things quickly. Seeing the announcement, I think Spectre was the first guy that I saw announce that Stuart Skinner was starting game 3. I'm like, Calvin Pickard must have, like, I don't know, he had a leg amputated. Like, there's no way they're letting a Skinner in that unless Pickard, they must have gotten like 4 doctor recommendations.
Vegas Golden Knight mascot caught him in the hallway.
Calvin Pickard is on an operating table as we speak. That's the only reason why Stuart Skinner is in net. That's it. That is so, like, I don't even know like the context of what happened.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I still don't know if we know. I think it was just
this is the thing in the playoffs, is right? People just disappear. Like that's just kind of what happens,
crazy.
Right?
So I think it was just day to day. I don't know.
Dennis Rodman, what's going on? They left him in Vegas.
Yeah, he's having too much fun there. His post game Skinner was. I watched it live as well. I just stayed up and I was like, why not? And at first, my thought was, this guy seems very even keel, and you kind of want this, like, this. You don't want the Jack Campbell where he's immediately blaming himself, even if he has a great performance.
That's what I thought.
Right? But he's also like, I did everything I could to give this team a chance. My guy. If you look at the overhead of the goal, you weren't in the frame. That's your job. So
Mando, I had the same thought,
right?
Man, because
I don't know how to feel.
That is he's been that way, like going back to last year too. And I mean, God, it gets to the game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, so you're doing at least something, right? But I had the same thought. I'm like, you're even keeled to the point where I'm a little sour.
Annoyed.
Like, you need to show. Yeah, I am annoyed listening to that. It's an interesting way to go about it. I guess every goaltender kind of has their different spin on it. It did remind me of like Hellebuck too. Like he's had that attitude at least this playoffs, right? With I've steadied the goal more than anyone, right? That type of deal. So
No, last night,
I
pal.
don't know, like yeah. Gotta steady some more. Like, yeah, I don't know what to make of Stuart Skinner, and I now don't know what to make of the Oilers. I still feel good. Like, listen, I took Vegas in 7 in this series. But like I can't say I haven't been thoroughly impressed by just the team effort that the Oilers have been getting. And yeah, like I said, it starts with Corey Perry. If they continue to get a guy like that, this is Dave actually where I wanted to reference Randy Orton. Me and Dave watched the tiniest bit of Backlash. I'm very casual with my wrestling. Like I basically had to talk to Justin, and he gave me like 20 minutes worth of catch up before Backlash, like that morning. Like, oh, okay, I guess I'll tune in. I didn't realize that Randy Orton and John Cena were fighting. But I wanted to make the Randy Orton Corey Perry comparison because that is now. I'm a guy who's 20 years, but also like. I feel like a lot of us are starting to turn a little bit like we have a little bit of admiration towards Corey Perry now. I don't know if listen, it's tiny. It's a tiny amount, but I don't know. When is the last Corey Perry antic that you've seen that really drove you up a wall? Right? Like he's just kind of scoring as an old man now.
It helps that he's not playing against the Leafs. It seems
yes.
every
now.
year.
Yes, but
right.
Listen,
Here's the thing, right? If Corey Perry's on this year's Florida Panthers and it's not Brad Marchand, who is continually just in our nightmares, he is living in my head rent-free. He's got condos built in there. But say it's Corey Perry, I think we would have the same conversation about Brad Marchand if he was, let's say, out west in Edmonton, where it's like, oh, when was the last time we had a Brad Marchand conversation? I feel like they're one and the same. They're interchangeable pieces. One's a worm, one's a rat.
We hate Brad Marchand, but like this is another guy who's like, that's what I'm saying. So I don't know. I just think Randy, he came out to his hometown crowd in St. Louis, and like they sung his theme like from
ridiculous Mando,
start to finish. And,
have you seen his entrance?
I haven't, but I heard that he had like a 20-minute standing O type thing. Like I heard it was just an insane entrance. That I did hear.
His music normally goes like they normally let it run. Like what typically, right? Like whenever,
it's like a 4-minute song, maybe.
4 minutes, dude. Legitimately, like I think they played it on loop 3 times.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It was long, and every single time it hits the big drop, dude. It felt like the Enterprise Center. The roof was gonna blow off its moorings, its hinges. Like that's how loud it was. I don't think I've ever seen. I've seen loud wrestling crowds, but they're typically not in the States. Like Puerto Rico does
it's somewhere where like it hasn't been for a while, and it's like this is our only opportunity.
The UK does it very good. I think France had a very, very good crowd. That was as great, and reactionary of a wrestling crowd in the US as I think I've ever seen in ever, basically, especially for an arena. Like it doesn't compare like going to like a WrestleMania when you're playing in front of 85,000 people, but this is like a standard 20,000 seat Enterprise Center, whatever, like just over 18,000, and it sounded like there was triple that in there. I think that makes for a great crowd. If anybody's watching, go find that Randy Orton intro because it will give you chills. It was so crazy. Like,
no, it's very hype. It's very hype stuff.
But I think that's a very good point, though. I think some people like. I hated Randy Orton growing up because I was a Triple H guy, and he had when I started watching, he was in a feud. Like they were in a feud together.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
I didn't like the guy, but I think like over the years, I have kind of softened on Randy, and I think also maybe like seeing his personality away from the ring as well, like getting a little bit more behind the scenes over the years, where it's like, oh, this is actually just a chill dude. I feel the same way. I still don't love Corey Perry the hockey player.
No,
right?
no.
He is the worm for a reason. Like, there's a reason he got the nickname.
Great. It's
But
great.
what I can admire is a guy who is a former Hart winner. The guy scored 50 goals in.
It's a crazy stat that they threw up where it's like 5 Hart trophies on that line when you throw them on
when he's a Corey Perry, right? He's won a Hart Trophy at some point in his career. He was a former 50 goal. Did he have 100 points with the Ducks maybe a couple of times, right?
90 plus,
90 plus guy. And for him to transition into I would say like the perfect like bottom 6 guy, but he's not playing bottom 6. He's playing as that perfect complementary
he's
piece.
elevating. He is a bottom 6 guy who's playing above his weight. Like he is like turning back the clock, right? Like we've seen Patches do it from time to time here now. So I don't know. I just think that it was the Corey Perry game. I don't know. I'm kind of enjoying like this Corey Perry run. I kind of want to see him score some more goals.
This is
any
why I
other
think,
thoughts here?
Well, this is why I think the Oilers are so dominant. I even take it back to, I think it was Game 5 of the first round series where until for the Oilers against LA, like I'm thinking, okay, well, Draisaitl and McDavid are just going to come in and clean up any mess that they need. And by the point of Game 5 until now, which I guess have been 4 or 5 games since, like we've seen depth from the Oilers that I don't think we've seen in the past. Hyman's not a depth guy, but him scoring the Connor Brown goal, I think in Game 2, incredible celly, basically a non-celly by him, just skating in front, stopping in front of the bench with like this like Randy Orton death stare, right? It was incredible. We've seen depth. I've seen Janmark put the puck in. Arvidsson not so much, but a lot of the depth has kind of stepped in. Yeah, Arvidsson on the flip side is actually the actual heel of this team after the can opener on the tab there.
On the series.
That's what I mean.
For Oilers fans, it's either him or Jeff Skinner. Like
Jeff. There's no good Skinners in the province of Alberta, really. But the depth is important, and I think Vegas embodies what depth really is. They have a lot of really good guys. They have a strong back end. But the Oilers are getting production from guys that they don't normally get it from. And we haven't even really seen like an Evan Bouchard game come out at some point. Like he's still like a good weapon on the back end that has sort of been mitigated and quiet, and he could almost kind of burst whenever the time comes. So it's important to see that from the Oilers. And Hill hasn't really been the best backstop. Speaking of, I mean, goaltending kind of hasn't really been the top offensive storyline of this series. So.
It's crazy. Well, talk about like this series. How about just the entire playoffs? Like I was looking, if you go look at like just the league leaders in save percentage, I don't have it here anymore, but basically it doesn't take long to get to guys in the 800s. Like there is maybe 7 or 8 goaltenders this entire playoffs who have a 900 plus save percentage. It's crazy.
Unbelievable.
It's crazy. The fact that he outdueled Philip Gustafson, who I think finished with like above 910, if I'm not mistaken, is pretty crazy. I do got one last thing to say about this series, man. Jeff Skinner, Stuart Skinner, Principal Skinner, Knights and 6.
Knights and 6,
7 for me, I will say I got my wish coming into this series about give me some one-on-one action, McDavid and Eichel. It wasn't necessarily animosity, but that's what I wanted. I wanted to be, and you know, at the same time, it's like for it to be a rivalry, Eichel's got to do something against McDavid. So we'll wait for the counterpunch. He was good in that game until he wasn't. So.
Oh my God, I felt bad.
Was that game 2 where he got like lit up like a Christmas? Like, he got.
Yeah, this is the problem. Is you put who do you put there?
No one
doesn't look like a Christmas tree, right? So that's the thing, right? So I don't know. I'm still looking for more of that.
I agree. The only thing I thought of like a day later was like I could just see McDavid going ahead, and he's not, I mean, maybe he's a big chirper, I don't know, but skating by, let's say he tries to chirp Eichel, and Eichel just goes, buddy, like, I got a ring. Like, where's yours?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it was an unbelievable play. So Eichel looks like he's never skated, but like you said, everybody would be in the same position, but Eichel has won. So at the end of the day, It's not a series, or it's not a.
Like if you ask
you know,
McDavid who's winning the rivalry, he'll tell you.
I know,
Right?
I know
Yeah.
exactly. So we'll see.
So
For
give
sure.
me more. Give me
Give
more.
me more.
On that note, do we want to stick on the West? So that game
Yeah.
goes Monday night. So tonight, if you're watching it at 9:30, that's game 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
We can head into another game for staying out west that happened just before the Leaf game started yesterday. Dallas taking down Winnipeg at home. Was that game? Sorry, that was
game 3.
Game 3. I tried to make it work. Didn't
That's
work.
all right. Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I think it's only a matter of time, honestly, for the Fraudapeg Jets. I think if I'm going to be honest here, I think their time's running out in this postseason.
I wonder if this is more. Is this more though like the Jets are frauds, or this is more like Dallas is like they're all world? I wonder. I really don't. I don't know. I think it's
it the Stars that are all world, or is it Mikko Rantanen that is all cosmic right now?
Yeah, it could be either one.
All powerful. The guy is literally Thanos. Like
yeah.
Mikko Rantanen's stat line right now: 10 games played, 9 goals, 9 assists for 18 points. Just gonna give you 3. Actually, this is 4 players of no significance here. Taylor Hall has 4 points. Logan Stankoven has 5 points. Martin Necas has 5 points, and Jack Drury has 2 points. You throw those together, you get 16 points. Mikko Rantanen has more points combined than every other player involved in his trades this year.
On both
that
teams?
That is crazy.
That's
ridiculous. So like the Canes have played 8 games, and the Avs played 7. Right, so you throw it together. You got 15 team games. If you want to make it individual, you can get way more crazy with it. But let's keep it at 15 team games versus Dallas Stars have only played 10 games. And Mikko Rantanen.
Nuts.
That's it. That's cut there.
That's
17 points in his last 6 games. Like he's almost 3 points per game. What the hell?
I mean, it helps when you score back-to-back hat tricks, like in third period hat tricks in like multiple games. It's like that's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's just crazy too, because like how many of these moments have been highlight reels? Like they're just goals. That's what they like. He just factors into everything in some way. Like it's just real consistent production. And it does remind me of honestly like regular season Matthews, where it was just like, oh, another game, another goal. Like not this regular season Matthews, but of years past, right? Like just consistently, like just over and over and over again. He is making the playoffs look like the regular season. That is kind of what I see from Mikko Rantanen.
I wonder if this is just end up going to being a punch for punch series, or if we're going to actually see someone take a stranglehold on it, because it's been a back and forth. And I know it's only been 3 games, but that being said, like home ice advantage doesn't really matter. I feel like it's just going to be whoever comes to play in each series. And at the same time, like, you know, goaltending is the easy thing to kind of look at, but they're 2 starting U.S. goalies. And I think I wonder if Ottinger has the edge come next February, March, whenever we see this. Is he the guy now? I don't know, but it's head to head, and we've seen what's happened so far.
The Stars fans
if I'm the U.S. management, yeah, definitely. But like, if I'm U.S. management, like I'm just like looking at the start of the series and saying, "Oh, great, we don't have to make a decision. They're gonna make it for us. Whoever wins the series is the starting goaltender for Team USA." Like, honestly, that's really what I would do here. What other proof do you want? Which team gets their, or which goalie gets their team to the next round? Like, it's do or die. I'm not back on a total fraud watch for the Jets or Connor Hellebuyck. Like, you know, there is a 4-0 shutout win mixed in between these 2 Jets losses. And I know people were getting on him for that 3-2 goal in the last game, the Petrovic goal. I don't know. I'm not there that's like a incredible mistake by Hellebuyck.
A lot of people are getting on about the goal itself, like that it shouldn't have counted. What was the reasoning that they gave?
So the as I understand it, so it goes in off of a skate. Well, it goes skate, Hellebuyck stick, net.
And the net.
The important point, though, is that like if it hit his stick, if it was already on a trajectory into the net, that's when it would be disallowed. Because Hellebuyck completely changes the trajectory of the puck. Think about the Draisaitl deflection into his own net. Like that
Yeah.
Rielly shot was actually not going in the net if it wasn't for Draisaitl's stick. Same scenario with Hellebuck's stick here. So it then becomes like a totally different play, right? So that's kind of why. So I don't really think it was too much up for debate at the end of the day. Like, yeah, you got to run through the motions, and that's why they reviewed it for how long they did. But yeah, this is the thing, though, right? With this series in general, like Mando said, like it feels like coin flip every game, more on the Jets side of what team and what goalie you get. There is no consistency. It is total unpredictability. And it feels like a lot of the series too, like when the stars show up, I really don't even care if the Jets bring their A game. Like it just feels like the Stars will win the game. I've referenced it before. I just feel like they dig deeper than every other team I've watched over the past 3-4 years, and just elevating their effort. Like the work ethic rate is just through the roof. And this is now even going back to like the bonus in 2020. That's just kind of how I feel about this team.
Yeah, I look at the Jets and I think we're starting to see, like, I know they made the Western Conference Final a number of years ago, so give them credit for making it deep in the playoffs in the past. But the past few seasons, they flamed out early, and it's been a lot of at the hands of Connor Hellebuck. You can't necessarily give him that title quite yet. They're in the second round. But this particular iteration of the Jets reminds me so much of the Leafs when they finally did best the Lightning and moved to the second round, because they exerted so much energy. There was so much excitement of them moving on, and the Jets had that unbelievable Game 7 that like was arguably the best game in the playoffs, or the most entertaining game in the playoffs so far in general this season. But you should have beat the Blues in way less games. You should have exerted way less energy. There shouldn't have been so many storylines to come out of that series. And now congratulations, you play the Dallas Stars in round 2. And they also, did beat the Avalanche, but they expected to be in 7 games. So mentally, they're already moving on to the second round going, all right, we knew we were going to be tired. Let's dig deep, like you said, Cristian. And I just think the Jets spent all this energy and mental capacity winning that first round, and now they're against a formidable team in round 2, and it's like we still have 3 more series if we want to move to the finals and win the cup. So I just don't know if they're ready.
It's that same that they had, like their Stanley Cup final was the first round, right? And like you said, though, you can say that for the Dallas Stars in a sense too, because of the opponent they went up against. And then you realize, like, there's just a whole other series after this, and one team actually wants to not that the Jets don't want to make the Stanley Cup final, but we feel like only one of these teams are capable of it. You referenced that 2018 Jets team that goes up against the Golden Knights in the conference finals. Like you look back at like the names on that team, that was the Jets' best chance of this era, right? Like that is a loaded team with all of the names that are here right now, plus a not prime, but veteran Blake Wheeler
and
Patrick Laine when
40
he
goals from Patrick Laine.
Was Byfuglien there too at that point?
I think that was Byfuglien's last year. Jacob Trouba's still on that team.
Yep.
You've got like Tyler Myers is just another guy who could kill you on the ice. You have Connor Hellebuck before he earns this reputation. It is a totally just complete lineup. If you look back there, and they had also, I think that was the year they traded for Paul Stastny. Like they actually had some center depth.
Yeah. Adam Lowry,
like all the names,
4C that year, 3C, 4C.
That was the culmination of everything that you wanted out of a Jets team, and it just Vegas just kind of dismantled them there. I don't feel the same way about this Jets team. Is kind of where I'm at. Like that's just I don't see it. I don't think they're going to be able to really. This is what we said at the start of the series too. I think we're all in lockstep. Like it's just going to be too much for them to get over. Last thing I want to bring up here, not analysis unless you guys have some. And this I will give kudos to the Jets, or at least Winnipeg and KFC for the KFC bucket stuff is incredible.
Awesome.
That is awesome stuff. I think we saw. Was it Edmonton that rebranded a McDonald's?
I believe so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who's gonna hop on this trend next? They're 2 for 2 right now. The fast food chains, they know what they're doing.
It's gonna be Austin Pizza. Call me up.
Good.
Call me up, Jim. Jim, call me up. Brad, you got my number,
really
buddy.
good. Yeah.
Well, listen, for it to be Austin Pizza, they gotta do something of significance, and
I mean,
so does he,
listen,
maybe.
it might be Austin Pizza, and it just might be in a really bad way. Like, I don't want to see an Austin Pizza. You know what I mean?
You're
Like,
right. The memes are like ripe for that.
I guess like if you're a Leaf fan, you're like, we already have a fast food chain named after a Leaf. It's called Tim Hortons. So.
That's true. Yeah.
Right. So. Yeah,
The
I
only
just
one-
want to say, kudos to KFC there. That was really good.
The only other one I can think of is horrible. It's not very good. Is maybe New York Nice, like a little New York fries action. But that's more in the States. I don't know if I like that one, but you never know.
I know this now because of the commercial. Like they had a commercial. It's like New York fries, but just so you know, we're Canadian, so they could do it.
They are a Canadian company.
Listen, I didn't know that New York Fries was Canadian. How was I going to know that?
It's the same as Austin Pizza. I don't know why those two companies. Why are we putting American names? Why can't it be? Why can't it be Aurelia Pizza or Leamington Pizza? Give me a Ontario.
Is there like a Sudbury Sodas in the U.S. or a Windsor Waffle House? Like, what the hell, man? Like, I don't get it. Anyways, KFC,
listen,
boys. KFC.
The only thing that I have to say in this series is the Jets need to learn how to win on the road, because I don't think they have a road win yet this playoffs. Did they win a game in St. Louis?
No, they lost every game in St. Louis.
That was the home series, right? That was
right.
It was, home. That's good.
So,
that's a good point.
That's the only. If you go down 3-1 tonight, next game against the Stars, I'll be honest. I think that this series is wrapped up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that's another thing to just watch out for.
I would love the Hellebuck roller coaster, and just in terms of a neutral, like, let's keep on the roller coaster, Hellebuck.
Yeah,
let's see another shutout tomorrow, and then let's see another.
Yeah,
just a 5 spot in games. Yeah, I don't know, just the neutral.
It's like he's on. Honestly, we talk about dartboards for George Peros, for example. I could just see Hellebuck's got a little like top hat at his stall, and he just reaches in and he just pulls out the result of his game. Oh, 4-0 shutout. All right, boys, we're gonna win.
He's got the bingo thing, and it just each ball has a different. He's got a different save percentage on it, so he just rolls up.
That?
Oh, 750 tonight.
Can you guys score your way out of trouble?
Yeah, you guys need 11 goals tonight. Sorry. Like, what? Who knows? I would love to see that too. Too much fun.
All right.
Okay. Do we want to really? I'll be honest with you guys. Full transparency. I don't think I've watched a single second of the Caps series. I've been at work for most of it.
I believe it.
Listen,
yeah.
I do have some thoughts here. I think we have to put the slightest bit of respect on this series, and it doesn't have to be a lot, but there is some stuff to talk about here. I think it's been like me and Dave teed it up as the tactician battle. It's been a low scoring series. Yes, you have the Canes get the shutout, but speaking of the shutout, I want to talk about Freddy Andersen.
Mm-hmm.
He leads the playoffs in save percentage. I think he's up at like. I gotta check. He might be at like 940 or something. It's something really, really good. At what point do we shed the label of Freddy Andersen as a not great playoff goalie? Like, I think we have to have this discussion. I think we should, as people who saw a lot of his career.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to think it was as much of a Toronto thing as it was a Freddy thing. You look at like this year's Leaf team in terms of the defense that they've had. This is obviously the best defense core they've had, and the goalies look as good as they ever have because of it.
Yeah.
Think back to some of the defense that Freddie had. And then I also think back to, we forget about this even when he was in Toronto. We traded for Freddy Andersen from Anaheim, okay, for a first-round pick in the summer of 2016. Great times. Lots of optimism.
Summer 2017.
He was coming, I don't know if he was coming off of it, but he had a playoff run with the Anaheim Ducks where they went to the conference finals. And I think he did come in relief at some point for John Gibson, and he kind of had to like take over the reins. But he did that. Basically all of his playoff failures and softies have been with the Leafs, with against the Bruins, against who else there? Was he in I guess he wasn't in was he in either the Columbus or the Montreal series now that I'm thinking? But he was in the Columbus one. He was the starting goaltender for Columbus. Yes, because Cam Atkinson scores the softie in, I believe, the first game. So I don't know, Mando, in terms of what you've seen from Freddie in Carolina now, because it hasn't been like sunshine and roses entirely in Carolina.
No.
But this year he looks like he's maybe turned a page.
Well, it feels
Am I
like
going
he's
too far?
No, I don't think so. I think he's been like a fairly steady goaltender when he's been with the Canes, but the problem has always just been injuries, and it's been like that since he started his career, right? And so I think if you could see a healthy Freddy Andersen, I think the Canes have had a chance to win in the past. The problem is that he's been gone, and they had Antti Ranta, who's not at all also a picture of perfect health by any stretch. So the Canes have just always had trouble maintaining goaltender depth, and you really don't need, if you have depth, it means you don't have a number one goalie, and Kochetkov has had to step in a couple times these playoffs. But if you have a healthy Freddy Andersen, he is the picture of consistency from a goaltending perspective, at least for numbers and for actually stopping the puck. The problem is, can he stay healthy? And it is only the second round. We've already seen him miss a game or two. So he has stepped up in this series. He's definitely allowed the Canes to kind of take that 2-1 grasp, and it feels like they're in the driver's seat for a number of reasons, but he's a big reason why.
At 5-on-5 here, goals saved above expected leaders. Logan Thompson, 9.3 goals saved above expected. Right behind him, Freddy Andersen, 9.2. Yeah. This has been the battle of the tacticians and the goaltenders, literally the two best goalies of the playoffs. So I don't know. I think that's probably the storyline that I'm going to be paying attention to the most is, can Freddy keep this up? Because I agree with you, Mando, in terms of the durability has always been a question. But I do think there was at least I don't want to say a goal a game, that's too much, but a goal a series that you felt like it was a backbreaker in a big spot when he was with the Leafs. Like I referenced that Cam Atkinson one. I just remember like that was that set the tone for the series. Where you're just like, that you gotta have that. And a lot of the times too, they would come in the midst of a really good game for Freddy. Yeah. And that's what made it more puzzling as well. If he erases those, and it like I said about the Leafs defense this year, Hurricanes defense has always been stellar. So they can help him out on that front too. I don't know. Like if the Canes make a run, you're probably throwing him in as the Conn Smythe pick for the Hurricanes. So
which again is just another guy. It's another guy that just you're like, all right, Kadri in 2022, and Phil Kessel with
Connor Brown
with
this year,
Penguins, like
almost Zach Hyman. Like the guys almost win the cup with the Oilers. There's so many on the Oilers. Anyways, Dave, I don't know if you got anything from me on
I
Freddy.
don't. I wanted to ask, like, on the flip side, what do the Caps now have to do to dig themselves? Because they have Logan Thompson, like you mentioned, who's let's say maybe
he's gone toe to toe.
Yeah, he actually like has gone. He's the best by say a goal saved above expected. I believe you said he is the best performing goaltender, right? So what do the rest of the Caps have to do to get back into this series now, going forward?
You know what? I think they're going to have to do it without kind of like, not the mainstays, but Ovechkin's been shut down in this series and has basically, like, Carberry's basically acknowledged that he is not built for this series. Like, his ice time is also down. And I think that's the right adjustment to make. Like, this is not a series that lends itself well for Ovechkin's play style. Like, the Hurricanes do not let up on anybody, and it's not in Ovechkin's DNA to give 1,000% every shift on both ends of the ice. So he's one guy who's been a victim to the systems matchup. Another guy, and he scored a goal, but I've seen a lot of Caps fans and just outlets kind of talking about John Carlson's play is another player who doesn't lend itself great to this series. He relies a lot on kind of that power play offense. He's the PP1 QB. He scores in, I believe it was I think it was game 2 there where he scores. So he's another one who's kind of been left in the wind because he's not the most incredible skater or the most incredible defender. You kind of need all of the new age Capitals to take the reins here. And I think they are capable. I took them in this series in 7. The Canes have looked better on balance so far. I mean, you're coming off of a 4-0 shutout. That's definitely going to be the case. But I still think that when both of these teams play their systems game and both their goaltenders are on their A game, like it is a coin flip. I do like the Caps kind of, it feels like they shouldn't have the game breaking edge, but like Tom Wilson had a standout game for them. And I just feel like, they've gotten like Connor McMichael has scored an incredible goal as well. Just an absolute snipe. they have more in the tank, and I think they're going to show it still.
Yeah, I just don't. I also see like the Carolina Hurricanes. They've never had a true superstar, like number one game breaker. Like we're talking about game breakers. I mean, they had Rantanen for all of 10, 15 minutes. Yeah, like it was nice to see him there, but didn't fit the system. So maybe a superstar there wouldn't fit the system that Brendan Moore and the team plays, but Aho's kind of been always tasked with, okay, well, if they have a superstar, who's their superstar? And it's Aho. But he's never been that. He's the threshold of the guy that's going to dominate, but he's never really going to take over a series. And maybe he's a guy that they need to step up. Maybe they need a Svechnikov to put some more goals in the back of the net, or maybe they need him to try something different. They're leading the series, but it doesn't feel like it. Well, it feels like whoever does win this series is just going to lose to the winner of the Panthers Leafs. Maybe not, but it just feels like there is not a lot of respect on this series because there hasn't been any standout performances by anyone outside of goaltending. And if the Hurricanes are going to step up and take that second step and not be the team that's, swept in the later part of the playoffs, I wonder if they need a guy to kind of step up. And Stankoven's played well. Like, they've had some game-breaking performances, but there's not one guy that's been consistent, like, offensively the whole series. I just wonder if one guy needs to take those reins for the Canes.
It's not just like the Mikko Rantanen hole; it's the Jake Guentzel hole.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
that was
true.
the guy
True.
that we see.
That's a good point.
The best,
It's the,
right?
it's
But yeah,
just a general X factor hole that they have not had. How many years have they, like, this is what, run number 7?
Oh, man,
8?
that must be.
Right? They just
feels like it.
So, yeah, I mean, I can't see it going much farther than it has. Like, if they make it to the conference finals, do they not just flame out in like 5 again, like they did the past couple of years?
I think the Florida or Toronto are both built to beat either team, and maybe that's just optimism.
Yeah, maybe
optimism or seeing the Cup champs.
Because
I don't know.
Playing Carolina in the regular season was not a great matchup, I remember, for the Leafs, and I don't know how much of a matchup that they were for the Panthers. But this is also, tighten up time, get ready to go up and beat the hell out of each other, right?
It's like you need to find a balance of systems, work ethic, and letting your talent be talented. And it's sometimes the pendulum has swung too much to the system where it suffocates out like the offensive ability of the team, right? And when you get to the playoffs, especially once you get to the conference finals, every team's working really damn hard. Every team brings the work ethic. And so then the pendulum swings back to, okay, both teams are bringing the work ethic. Which team has more talent or allows their talent to do more? And that's where the Hurricanes have lost that battle repeatedly, right?
Yeah.
They've run into teams that work just as hard as them, but have just a bit more offensive explosiveness.
I think even the systems in place kind of negates the outright system that you were working with. So it's kind of like a wash between them.
It limits their ceiling.
Yeah. Well, on that note, that game goes, I believe, tonight at 7 or 7:30. I forget now. I'm trying to pull it up. I have other stuff up.
What do we got?
It doesn't matter. It's tonight.
7 p.m.
7 p.m. tonight. All right. Where do you guys want to hop to next? Do we want to go
Cristian
overseas? Or do we want to stay local?
Local. What do you got local, Dave?
Not very local.
Like
continental.
you're talking like globally local. Yeah, like
just
talking next door.
Continentally.
Let's stay local.
Okay. Yeah, let's stay on this. We'll stay on this continent. We'll stay on this landmass.
So on Wednesday, the Utah Hockey Club announced their new team name, and they picked the Mammoth. The tagline here is it's a Mammoth Day in Utah, guys. Give me something better here.
That was every single headline everywhere for that story.
It's just brutal. Yeah. Like that's so cheesy. How are we feeling about the team name, the logo, the alternate? The the two jerseys that they came up
Yeah.
with as well. What are we feeling about it?
The one thing I was laughing about was I was reading the article on The Athletic. Chris Johnson wrote it, and just detailing the whole process they had about picking the name. And we kind of knew it. It's been pretty public about they were having trouble with the Yeti and the Mammoth. And the one thing I laughed about was like there was a paragraph that he inserted about like, the Mammoth 14,000 years ago came to Salt Lake City, and it's been and I'm thinking, does Chris Johnson ever think in his life he'd have to write about mammoths as a sports reporter? Like, what are we talking about here? Like,
Dude,
why are we talking about mammoths? But it's a part of the gig.
Did the Predators not do the exact same thing?
They must have.
Is it a fake story?
Yeah,
Or,
the saber-tooth one was a fake. Like that's all generated. So when the Predators when the Nashville got awarded the team and they picked the Predators as their iconography and like all that stuff, they came up with a fake story about a saber-toothed tiger that used to roam what type of plain is Tennessee? Like that's flatland there.
Right. The tundra, boys.
Yeah.
The tundra.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, it's definitely not tundra, but the Ice Age. They made it seem like they uncovered, like they excavated out.
They were
they
were like we found the remains of a saber-toothed
as they were
tiger
building the arena
underneath the Bridgestone Arena. It's like, come on, guys.
All right.
What is this, Jurassic Park? What are we doing here?
I liked it though. I do like the name based on the circumstances they were dealt. I liked Yeti, but that was off the table. I like Mammoth. I think it's cool. A lot of people were dogging the logo a little bit. I thought that, and I had the same thought on the SLS podcast. Basically, I think the colors that they have, I love the colors, but I think the colors of the logo lend itself to the EA Sports logo that a lot of people were calling it.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like if the colors were different, maybe the logo looks different, but I think the blue kind of is like an EA Sports NHL logo. Color, I don't know.
It feels like it's missing a color. Like I feel like you have to mix in like a silver, or I know a lot of people have talked about like the Utah purple that's on the Jazz jerseys.
I was just about to say, you guys, they have like, okay, the Jazz jerseys currently and like their like whole design is awful. Like it's genuinely, I think it's ugly. Yeah, but
they go throwbacks a decent bit for a reason.
You give me those 90s, like the Utah, like the mountain range and thing with that purple. Ooh, that's really, really like slick. Why don't we get more purple in the NHL?
I know. Yeah.
I hope it's because the Kings have something in the works. That's what I would hope. But they just made a jersey change. They just rebranded their home and away. So it would have to be for an alternate. That's my like.
You think with like that
what,
purple and yellow color that they used to go with?
You know what? They don't even have to go. They don't even have to get the yellow involved. They don't have to go Lakers. Like they've had before, like purple, black, and white, and silver. Like they could really do a lot with it. Personally, yeah, I agree with Mando in terms of the combo of the logo plus the color scheme is what gets the EA stuff. It is like the logo is like, like you feel like you could load up EA NHL and you go to your custom logos to create a team and you'd see that there. Yes. I think at the same time, like some of those logos are like good in terms of like they're made by a logo designer. Like this is what you end up with, a sports logo, right? So I like the logo. I don't love the color scheme, and I don't love the jersey design. In terms of the striping is very, very, very basic. Like that is another one where it's like, oh, here's your default creative team jersey striping. I don't love the going with the typeface on the away jersey. Like just going with Utah. The Canes are the only, I think, Canes and Rangers would be the two teams that do that right now. It's not a great look to me on the Utah one, especially because
it just seems like when in doubt, just throw the diagonal typeface like.
What I don't understand, like the logo would look totally fine on the away jersey. I don't get why they didn't do that. The alternate logos, the shoulder patches on the home jersey, I kind of hate them. They're just an outline of Utah with a hockey stick, and you're going back to the Utah just like diagonal look there. It's just weird to have like a a black shoulder patch on a black jersey. Like it's just like it just looks like an outline. Like you're supposed to make that either light blue or white to me, so it actually like pops out. It just kind of looks.
Why couldn't either of those because they have two different patches? I'm looking at it right now.
So on the away jersey, the patch is their primary
logo. Why couldn't that have been the same and they have done a mountain range design as their secondary logo?
Well, I'll go like one further. Is if you look at their full branding, you'd have to like Google it, but they also have another Utah word mark, with the tusk in the U.
I love that.
Yeah.
That would have been the perfect shoulder patch on both jerseys, personally. Like, I would have just put those on both. Like, I don't know why they kind of went, like, with... It's almost two different jerseys, almost for two different teams, is the feel that I get looking at the home and away. Like, there's not a lot of consistency between the two. I do think, like, the logo is the most important part of, like, branding, and... I really do like it. Like, I'm giving it, honestly, an 8 out of 5, maybe even a 9 out of 10 for the logo. I think it's really clean. And I remember, like, when there was the leaked survey of the different options, like, here's the Outlaw, the Utah HC, and Mammoth. I think the Mammoth one was I don't remember if it was the mid logo or the worst looking logo, but everyone agreed that the Utah HC, which is worst name, had the best logo, and it was the sideways facing Yeti with the mountain range. So they threw on the Mammoth face, and I think that's a really good compromise that they came to. On the Yeti thing, I just thought about this, and this is just because of where I work part-time on weekends. I see a lot of Yeti mugs, boys. A lot of Yeti mugs. But you know what else I see a lot of? I don't know if you guys know, there's another brand, Mammoth mugs. They got it. Like, there is Mammoth mugs. If you look it up, they're big, like if you're working out, like, you can get this huge, like, 1 liter. It's like a nice wide jug.
Okay.
They have to partner with Mammoth mugs and shove it down Yeti's throat.
Yeah,
like that's what you do.
That is what you do.
I
was going for that with the Yeti because I was like, I was on board with the Yeti name as much as I was always team Outlaw.
Oh yeah, I think that was always. I know, honestly, Yeti for me was number 1.
Oh yeah, sure, but we had to like kind of concede where it was like we weren't gonna get Yeti, so I had to pick something else. I was like, I like the Outlaws quite a bit.
Yeah,
Mammoth was a little bit more like off to the side. You know what? I'm fine that it won out, but I was like, oh, dude, like, why
missed out on that?
Why
easy
are
partnership.
Yeti being like? I see now. Here's the thing. I don't know. It has to definitely come from Yeti. Like, they are obviously the one to kind of put a motion for it, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, guys. Like, you have you have marketing like built in place.
I think the problem was apparently Yeti they sell merch in terms of apparel with Yetis on them. So that's where the confusion would arise. I think basically what their argument was, whatever. So go to Mammoth mugs, boys. I want Mammoth mugs branded with the Utah Mammoth. That's my piece on it, but yeah, I don't know. I'm sure we're gonna get an outdoor game within a couple of years in Utah. Gary Bettman kind of said as much when he spoke recently. So we'll get another jersey pretty soon. That was the case in Vegas. Same with Seattle.
That's a good point. And
they're going to add to the rotation.
And I think what they should do, and that was my only last point on that. I'm glad you brought that up. That would have been the perfect time to drop another jersey. I imagine that mountain blue, the one that you can almost like Dave's hat. Imagine that being like the primary color for a jersey. That's a clean look.
They'll flip it up, right? They'll go with that as the primary color. And once again, I think that would be better.
Yeah.
Still gonna feel like you're missing a color though. If it's just like because that's already in the rotation, it just feels like there's something missing.
Maybe like a silver.
Maybe it comes over time. I think a silver trim would look really good.
Yeah.
If you really you put it in there. And the one other thing I'll say is, like I mentioned, the jersey striping not being like the happiest with it because it's really really safe picks. Like, they have it in their logo, the mountain range, and the Avs. Maybe this is why. I guess the Avs already kind of do it, right? At the bottom of their jerseys. But they have, I've mentioned this before, they use it in their promo material for, like, game day lineups and stuff on Twitter. They have that mountain range, like, motif. And I thought it would have made perfect sense to incorporate in the striping of the jersey. And they didn't. I thought that was a slam dunk, honestly. I'm still happy on the whole. I think they did fine. On the whole, I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. I still think I don't know. I was gonna say ranking the three expansion team or the two expansion teams and relocation now. Honestly, they all did pretty good. I don't even know if I can choose a 1, 2, 3 yet until I see Utah on the ice.
If
They
I were
did
to,
pretty good.
yeah, based on now, I think I'd say Vegas, and that's not having anything to do with their ice, like how they've done on the ice. Like obviously they were successful early, but
branding
was good. I liked it.
They brought
I
it
do
right
like
from the beginning, like before they even stepped on the ice.
Yeah.
Everything about them was as Vegas as possible, and like to their point. And it's very tough for the team, like a team in Seattle and a team in Utah, to be as uniquely to their city as possible, because the city that you're going up against is
so much
Sin City, right? Like it's so
much
difficult.
built up culture there.
Yeah. So,
I am tired of the gold jerseys, though, in Vegas. I will tell you that. If I'm ranking the home jerseys, I might already have Utah above Vegas. I'm not a fan of the gold jerseys anymore.
I like their gray. Like, I like if they do the gray jerseys. Those are clean.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. That's fair.
Wasn't a problem with them. Their away jerseys, love it. They for whatever reason, it really pops.
Yeah, the whites
Vegas
are good.
whites, they really pop.
Because it pops with the, like, because they have a gold trim on there too, right?
Yeah, they do. That's true.
I think it's the golden trim, but in Seattle does this too. Think about it. Yeah, with Vegas, you have the gold, the black, the dark gray,
and a little
but
bit of red.
The red.
There's the red.
The red really pops. And it's the same with Seattle. The red really pops. And you're missing just one other color in Utah, it feels like.
Yeah,
interesting.
100%.
That's where I'm at.
Speaking of red,
yeah,
little world champ.
Nice. That was good.
So in the World Championships, Canada, who did they beat? Because that's another one I just
was gonna say throw to our resident World Championship reporter here, Mr. Mando.
They played Latvia, boys, who they've weirdly had some. Like they've had some trouble randomly with them in the past, but they handedly beat them 7-1 yesterday, Sunday.
7-1, come on, 7-0. You know
what's funny is Fleury's in net. It was great to see him play, and Lindsey Hamilton did a great interview with him post game. Like, you're gonna retire. What does it mean to be here? He let the first shot in. Like, it was a good snipe, but like Canada was losing 1-0 at one point.
Was it like a feature with Fleury, or was it just like
a post game, just a post game interview? Okay. Yeah, nothing.
I was gonna say, like, sometimes it's hilarious when you get like these really not drawn out, but it's like, here's this 15-minute feature on this dude, and then you go to the game and it's just like we build up this whole story. Say, he lets in the first.
Yeah,
goal.
exactly.
yeah. No, but that wasn't the case. That was
nothing
the case.
like that. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, let's start with Fleury. Just the decision to do this. I love that. Like, I think that's great. I also think that, like, he would never. Maybe he would tell you this. Let's say you're in your last year. You go to the playoffs. You lose in the first round. I don't know. It not suck to go out that way, because like he's had an awesome career. It doesn't matter how he goes out, but you have an opportunity to go play for the best country in hockey. You have a second chance to go out on top in your career. You want to win with some type of hardware, or leave with some type of hardware, right? Like, you look at the Canada roster, and we'll talk about more of it, but I mean, they're the favorites. They just have to be.
100%. I think, like, bar none, they're the favorites too.
Yeah.
I looked at the U.S. team too, and I will say, like, the U.S. has also sent a pretty good squad. So, like, and they are in different groups, so could definitely see a nice Canada-U.S. final. I don't know if it's going to have the same juice as Four Nations, but anytime you get Canada-U.S., I'll tune in. So yeah, I love the Fleury decision. He made the joke about, like, I went home and the kids were crazy, so that's why I'm back. The more Fleury we can see, the better before he's done. I don't know if you guys had other Fleury thoughts.
No, 100%. I thought it was just so bizarre that was his debut for Canada at the World Championships. I guess that makes a lot of sense considering how long he was, like, on the Pens team, like, winning. Yeah, I mean, you got 3 cups in your 21-year career.
You think about it, like, right? Like, he was with Pittsburgh for all of the playoff runs, right?
Vegas.
He then goes to Vegas, all of the playoff runs. Chicago, the 1 year he's there, is that not the bubble year, right?
Yeah,
like,
pretty sure they make it.
Season. And then Minnesota, like, the guy didn't have any downtime at all during this time of the year.
Yeah.
Right? He was probably watching it in between games more than anything else. So,
It's true.
yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
So, Mando, what have you seen so far in this tournament that's maybe like impressed you? What has surprised you so far?
Yeah. Well, I've only watched the one game. I think they've played a couple like early on matchups and exhibitions. I could be wrong, but I think this was technically their second game. Well, it actually was. I think they played Slovenia or Slovakia. Yeah, right. So there you go. And they won, but the Latvian game I was able to really like take a look and kind of analyze some of the lineups and stuff. And I think in like tournaments like this, who was it? Either Mike Johnson or Gord Miller said this on the call. Like, there's always seems to be one or two Canadians on these rosters that have great performances in some capacity. I can't recall any guys
Dylan
in
Cousins
particular.
last
Was
year.
Cousins, yeah.
Remember, so I looked this up.
Okay.
He led the team in points with 11 points last
Wow.
year.
Wow. Yeah. So there's always a guy that seems to take the reins. And for me, yesterday was Kent Johnson. He was playing with Adam Fantilli, and they had Ryan O'Reilly up the middle. So kind of like the line mates or the teammates and the older guy, kind of veteran, leading the charge. And they had a great start. Johnson was buzzing, and he was making some great passes, but like he was taking the reins, and it felt like he had a lot of confidence. So I think he had a couple goals. He had multiple points for sure, and he was just in the mix very often. So he was a guy that I felt like had a lot of confidence on that team, and he's still a young guy in the league. So I feel like being on a roster with guys that are, veterans, you have both the Nate Max and the Sidney Crosbys, seeing that leadership there. We'll get to the guy who obviously isn't there that kind of is the reason we want to add this to our podcast. But Kent Johnson really looked like he stepped up. Crosby was like mad all game. Like, it was the weirdest thing. Like, he was off the rip, like ornery was the word that Mike Johnson used. Like the old guy who, gets soup and it's not hot enough when he gets it from the deli. So he goes, you got to go heat this up. Whatever it was.
They've served that guy before.
Yeah, exactly. The guy in Nino Diversa, Dave, who doesn't get the cannoli that he wants or whatever.
Yeah, not enough filling in the cannoli.
Like it's
not
unbelievable.
Enough pepperoni on his pizza.
Yeah. So there was one guy. So he was shoving guys at the end. He got a little slash and he got a penalty within like the last 2 minutes of the game. So Crosby never takes a night off. He always is competing.
Just to do with Latvia, was he not on the team?
I don't know.
Latvia
It could have been.
Maybe, yeah. He's like, I've been waiting for this moment for 15 years.
Yeah,
exactly.
Been 15 years. Yeah.
So yeah, it was an interesting watch. Like, you kind of had a feeling they were going to win, like unless something went horribly wrong. There wasn't a lot of storylines out of it, but it felt like Kent Johnson was the guy that really stepped up. Sidney Crosby still is the guy that wants to lead the charge, and Celebrini scored. It was just like, it was a nice pass, whatever. But I was, as a Sharks fan, excited to see him get in the mix. It felt like he really wanted to get involved, and
I think he had a really productive tune-up exhibition. I saw, at least in my feed, I saw lots of Celebrini does this in the tune-up games.
Yeah.
I want to shout out just a lot of the guys, not a lot, but there's a handful of dudes, more than you'd expect, that were on like the Four Nations team that are making the trip. Like the name that comes out that stands out to me right away, other than like the obvious Nate McKinnon, Sidney Crosby, is Travis Sanheim.
Yep.
Like this is a guy who is a underrated guy on that Four Nations squad. And he said, screw it. I haven't had enough international hockey this year. Let me go play at the World Championships. And really, this is more of at least it's more of a time commitment and travel commitment than Four Nations was, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're definitely playing more intense games at Four Nations, but that's why, like, you got
Montreal or Boston, right? Like, you're not going overseas.
This is a way more drawn out tournament, and honestly, for way less fanfare. Right? Like, the best of both worlds is obviously Four Nations. So this is just a committed to the country and just really wanted to stick with the program. And I'm sure he also knows that he's probably fighting for the same spot he had come 2026, right? So I don't know. That was one I wanted to shout out. There's also Travis Konechny here. I'm trying to think of other guys.
I think Hagel's there.
Hey, is Hagel there?
I thought I heard Hagel. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I thought I heard his name.
Another thing, like, on those two guys in particular, it's like you were on a team that had, I would say Philly probably had the worst vibes season at least to end
Yeah.
the year, like after they fired Torts, it just everything kind of
The Cam York stuff.
the Cam York, everything seemed to kind of like implode over the last like 2 months of the year, just after the Four Nations break. So I think for them, it's just like it's a nice little reprieve, just kind of get away and be
Back to some nice hockey.
yeah,
Back to some
exactly.
fun.
Well, considering
Yeah.
that they were in the heart, like they were a part of the pinnacle of hockey, international hockey watching this year, to then go back to Philly, I feel like maybe that's like it kind of deflates your bubble a little bit. So
Right.
I'm honestly, I'm not that surprised that they're there. And you know what? They probably get a little bit more time and maybe a little bit more shine than they did in the Four Nations face-off, where you are like literally playing with the best of the best of the best. But at least maybe in this tournament, they can stand out a little bit more.
I would say like not like shine from like the fans, but you're right, Dave. You know, like who will give them more attention is like the management for the 2026 team. Like they are locked in, obviously.
100%.
That's a good point.
100%.
Yeah.
Now, so sorry, I'm talking about.
Sorry, you want to go to the guy?
I was gonna say.
Well,
so
okay.
About people, go.
Before we do that, sorry, I got. This is very tiny. I just want to point this out on the U.S. team here. And talking about Four Nations. This is a guy who we thought was in the mix for Team Canada's net. Joey Decord is in the U.S. net.
He's a choice.
Committed. He made a choice, and he made the wrong one. No, I'm kidding. I just think about it. This guy is like basically just like who he was going to represent internationally was up for grabs like just a couple months ago, and I'm sure he at least decently considered it. But here he is in the U.S. now, so I just thought that was something to note there.
I think the road for him was even less clear in terms of Canada, considering like how well Binnington played, and you have a guy like Aiden Hill who's still in the playoffs right now. I think we can safely
was waiting and was like, okay, that closes the door now. I can move on.
I think we can safely assume Logan Thompson probably won't be there. Even still, like he's probably
no way. I mean, there's still lots of times.
I don't know, man.
If you're asking the guys who are like, I think Doug Armstrong is the guy there. There's no way. There's no way, personally. But one other name, Josh Doan, also for the U.S. Come on, Shane, you couldn't get your son to represent Canada. Come on, that's all.
Yeah. So from players that did make the jump over, the plane ride overseas, we do have one. There was a couple names, but one notable name that didn't make the cut, and that's Conor Bedard, who opts to stay in North America for the offseason, kind of like rest, recover, train for the upcoming season. What do you guys think about that whole situation?
So Bedard's actual reasoning that he gave in his exit interviews with Chicago is he said he specifically wants to focus on improving his skating this summer, which, you know, at first I was like, his skating, like, I mean, he's Conor Bedard. He's a really good skater. And I think he said specifically his top speed. And you go look, I think he was actually, I looked on NHL Edge. You can get all nice fancy stats there. And in terms of top skating speed, he's below 50th percentile, which
that
it did really surprise me. It does surprise me as well. So, I mean, kudos to him for having a good answer in that spot.
Yeah.
And honestly, at that point, you think about when they did their exit interviews, it must have been a couple days after the regular season ends. At this point, I don't think we knew that Crosby was going, or that McKinnon, obviously, all these guys, maybe Celebrini, but even then, I don't think these decisions get made that quickly. For him, it was just like, yeah, okay, I'm committed to this path, and that's it. Now, you look back with the names that are there today, and he sticks out like a sore thumb in terms of guys available that could have been there that aren't. I'm not going to come down hard on him for this one, personally. I think the timing doesn't lend itself well to Bedard. And I think if you gave him if you told him on that day, hey, Crosby and McKinnon are going, leave Celebrini out of it, just tell him those two are going, I think he very, very strongly considers it. And I think at that point in time, he didn't know that. And I wouldn't fault him for making that decision. I look too, because one of the guys that I really compare him to, and really he's had a better start than this guy, Jack Hughes. He's had better production than Jack Hughes in his first 2 years in the NHL, but I look at him as guys who had a hard time adjusting to the NHL play style completely because they are smaller scale guys and they really have to round out their game. And Jack Hughes has done that. I have no doubts that Bedard's going to do that. But Jack Hughes played for some not great New Jersey Devils teams. He hasn't gone to the World Championships. So I don't really think this is like he had to be there. Why isn't he? This is not great. Like, I still think if he comes out to start next season and puts up 1.5 points per game in the first 30 games, he'll be in consideration for 2026. No guarantees, but I don't really think this is going to take him out of any running, personally.
I guess that's fair. Mainly just because, like, if Conor Bedard, like you said, like, he's one of those guys that he doesn't necessarily have to prove his spot as much as the Travis Sanheims of the world. And a lot of people, to their credit, thought Brendan Hagel was a guy that didn't even deserve a spot. And I think they're happy that he did play for the Four Nations roster based on how it all transitioned and how it played out. Bedard has a little bit of an edge because he's the first overall pick. He's somewhat of a golden child, and because he just has the rep of a guy that probably will play very well at a high level. And Jack Hughes is actually a great comparison, and Jack Hughes was on the Four Nations roster. Was he the best player? No, but it doesn't matter. You just got to get there. So I guess when you break it down like that, I give him a little bit less grief, because if he had a little bit of a better season, people aren't even having the conversation of if he's going or not. I do just think it is optics. It does look pretty bad when a guy like Macklin Celebrini, the year behind you, looks like he's developing with those top-end Canadian players. And if Celebrini ends up next year lighting the world on fire, and once again Bedard doesn't have a hot start, falters, it's not people who think it's, oh yeah, like he went to the World Championship, that's why he's better. There's no single reason, but it just doesn't bode well again, and people are going to pick on him.
It definitely adds fuel to the fire.
It would.
Going against them. Like, that probably doesn't help. But
you stash this in the back pocket, though. It's like, I think there's like some people are ready to unload right now. It's like, no, just add this to your file, I guess, if you're a Bedard hater, and just keep it there. Like, I don't know. I think it's a little abrupt to be getting on him. I don't know, Dave. What do you got?
I don't know. I also kind of feel like he is maybe a little bit too proud. You know what I mean? Like, I think he even knows he didn't have that great of a season. Like, Macklin is there. Like, I think maybe he even feels like he shouldn't even have deserved like the call. Like, maybe it was just in terms of name value. Like, that's the reason why he's there. So I think maybe if he had a better production this season, maybe that would have changed his mind. But I think he maybe feels that he's taking away a spot from somebody who played better this season and is technically more deserving of his spot. Could that be
saying at the World Championships?
At this World Championships. Like, regardless of, hey, I want to stay home and rest and work on my top speed, but his production wasn't like so otherworldly. Like, maybe he feels like, I'm going to take this spot from somebody else who had better production pound for pound this season than I did. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Am I a bit off base here?
I don't know if I would go in that respect, because so I'm looking at like some of the names, like Will Cooley, like Bedard was better. Barrett Hayden.
Bedard. So
Forster.
I'm not saying in terms of production, in terms of points, but I'm thinking production in
relative
terms
to
expectations. Like, everybody expected Conor Bedard to be. Did some people not expect him to be like a point per game type of player this year with his terms of talent?
Definitely,
right?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, he kind of had a repeat of his rookie season in terms of production, so it was a little bit of a flat season in that respect. I think it was one thing if he came out and said, yeah, I just want to train just generally, and just said, yeah, I need some rest, really need to get a break, whatever, and that was it. Like, he obviously already had his game plan at exit interview time, which, yeah, that's going to be the case when you're with an NHL club. They're going to already know. They already knew in February what Bedard's offseason game plan was in Chicago. But listen, he's got a goal, and I think if we also see the the improvement in that regard. Like I'm not going to come down hard on him. Like think about like Crosby deciding one summer, I'm going to be good at faceoffs, and he was good at faceoffs. If Conor Bedard comes out and, you know, he raises his top skating speed by 2 miles, he's up into like the 80 percentile, whatever. I would honestly argue that is more valuable than going to the World Championships. I'll also throw out, he was at the World Championships last year. He has done this. I just looked. He had 8 points in 10 games for Canada.
That's
like,
pretty
it's
crazy.
Yeah. Right? Like, so now if Celebrini doesn't go next year, they are now even in terms of World Championships they attended in their first 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Like, it goes back to what Mando said. It's all optics. All optics. But I think when you take off the glasses, it's not a big deal. It's really not a big deal.
And what I'll say is
it can be. If
be.
he comes out again and he doesn't look great, take it out of the file.
Well, Celebrini won't be in the World Championships next year, and you know why. As Sharks are making it to the
They're going all the way.
Western-
They're going all the way to the Stanley Cup, baby.
Sign me up.
No chance.
I'm gonna give me Bedard versus Celebrini in round 1.
Yeah,
and actually, that will not happen because that would mean one's a high seed and the other isn't.
I
That's
don't
not
even
happening,
know.
but,
Yeah.
Can two wildcard teams play each other? That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
It'll help because I think, the Chicago, not necessarily development specific, but the Blackhawks do have the third overall pick. Apologies. And they're likely to take a forward. If they take a defenseman, I don't know, like, it'll be because Schaefer falls, and that would be a ridiculous fall, I think, out of the top 2. So I think whether that guy plays next year or the year after, I think that was going to help at least Bedard being like, I'm going to get pieces moving forward. I think it's just as much on the Blackhawks to help with his development as it is him, both in terms of getting like the training staff, but also putting pieces around him. So yeah, you know what? We'll see. We'll table this as a podcast in terms of whether this is going to end up being a major problem or not for Bedard moving forward. But I think the people are thinking, if you want to make the 4 nations, you probably should have been at the World Championships. But I guess Bedard still has that slight, or not 4 nations, Olympics next year. But that being said, like like we were saying, if he sets the world on fire and he gets like 2 points a game for the first, stretch, like they're gonna put him there. It's gonna be just a fact of he's playing the best hockey. I don't know.
We'll cut this segment the Bedard Files.
the Bedard Files.
We've gone to the Bedard Files at least twice on the pod. We'll see. Yeah, exactly.
I do want to have a conversation at a later date. Because I want to see how everything plays out. But what I will ask you guys is, how many teams are we going to see next season just outright be god-awful because of who's coming up in next year's draft? The McKenna
Files.
Right?
Yeah.
Good call.
So
they're lining
4
up.
teams like Chicago and San Jose and who do we expect to be near the bottom? Like I feel like we're going to see 7 or 8 teams just be downright garbage and try everything in their best power.
Pittsburgh.
Like, is Nashville going to be down there again?
Yeah, I don't know. There's honestly, like, there isn't like that many, like, just stamp it, guarantee it today basement teams. There's so many teams that are looking to be better than last year.
That's why I want to table this conversation for the off season.
Yeah, it's good to bring up though now, because it's actually it's surprising how little there is, right? Like, there isn't as many as you'd think.
Right.
Well,
it's gonna play out over the next little bit.
You know what's going to end up happening, boys? We already saw this trend this year. We might see the Bruins at the bottom next year.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Oh, man. You know what? You know what will tell me? Who they hire as head coach. If you see... Yeah, okay. If I see, like... This is all probably not the names that you're thinking though, Dave, where it's just like, if I see like Joe Sacco is staying on permanently as head coach, it's like, wrap it up. They're getting Gavin McKenna.
It wasn't Joe Sacco, but it was more of an unknown than Joe Sacco was. Like, at least Joe Sacco was the assistant coach on that team. I genuinely
Anders Sorensen's coming from Chicago,
seriously.
boys.
I don't remember this person's name, but it was somebody of that ilk where it was like, oh,
even better,
brother, This guy stinks.
Bring in,
Thanks.
you want a tank commander? Bring in Dallas Aikens,
Bring
boys.
in
Okay?
Peter
Yeah.
Horacek. Give him one more.
Okay,
Give
yeah,
him one more run.
Yeah, no, that is the
Bring
the
him
ultimate.
Tank Commander
The
General.
ultimate. There is
like-
no better.
It's the Undertaker meme. They're calling it.
Yeah.
Horacek.
My
Call the big
God,
guns. Call the big
that's
guns.
Peter Horacek's music. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
no.
Oh God.
You get the casket open and it's just Peter Horacek.
Exactly.
Popping up,
Exactly.
and he grabs up and it's like, I don't know, Joe Sacco or something like that. Yeah.
Oh,
God. Yeah,
Get me,
the
get
big
me in for
guns.
that match.
That's it, boys.
The tank
Man.
off, the tank bolt. We will. That's one of my guarantees heading into next year. I know we completely
Yeah.
deviated.
Oh, it's
but
No,
not.
we're
it's
gonna
true.
see an
No, it's a good one.
all-timer tank bowl this year, and I think it's gonna be
Hey, man.
8 teams deep.
I don't know if anything will ever beat the Sabres versus Oilers versus
Seriously.
Coyotes tank ball for
Yeah.
McDavid. That was
bad.
all time.
because Sabres were trading any goalie that
it
made
was-
a save. It was incredible.
It was shameless at how bad that. Like that
Oh,
was as
because
shameless
there
as
was
that.
a Sabres versus Arizona game very late in the season, and it was must watch for all the wrong reasons, man.
Yeah.
Who could
Anyways.
f up more?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. On that note, do you guys have anything else you wanna hit before we start wrapping it up?
I think we're
Fun
good.
episode, and
yeah.
man, second half of these series in the second round. One in particular gonna be very, very interesting to watch.
Yo, yeah, Caps Canes, man, can't wait.
I can't wait. Must watch TV.
Yeah. So on that note, I'm gonna say thank you if you made it to the end of this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with all your friends. Don't forget you can find our socials in our bio at Second Look Sports on anywhere that you can find us. On that note, thank you for sticking around to the end, and we'll be back next week.